So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another satsang video. I actually filmed this video yesterday, but audio went out, so whatever. So let's get into our very first question of this KRSsatsang Q&A. Okay, keeping you all busy with my videos, of course. So the first question comes from Abhimanyu Maharajan. He says, creating a chart of the time when someone's marriage happens. Can it give a detail on how marriage life would be? Well, actually, this is a very, very beautiful question because I've actually made a video on this, I think 2 years ago, called Vivah Pravesh. And what I talk about there is that the moment you're, let's say, entering a courtroom for your court marriage, or the moment you're at the altar where the priest is going to start saying things, or the moment when you sit on the mandap for a Hindu wedding or in front of an imam, look at the chart for that location, for that time period. What is the environment like? Because that energy is now going to stay with that ceremony. Not necessarily with you, but is staying with that ceremony because it's a ceremony taking place, one of the most important events taking place. This is why in Muhurta astrology, which is, hardly anybody knows how to do. Very rarely you'll find good astrologers who can do that. But in Muhurta, not only they set the day of the marriage, but I actually set the time of the marriage. That the marriage should take place starting at 6 p.m. in the evening or starting at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Because they're looking at the fact that if the marriage gets initiated at this time period, things are going to work out. And one of the easiest thing if let's say you don't know what you're looking at in terms of that prashna or that horary for that moment, the best thing to do, just get married on a day when moon is transiting the nakshatra of Uttara Falguni. That's it. Just make sure that's the easiest thing you can do because Uttara Falguni is one of the best nakshatras for marriage. This is a nakshatra where Shiva and Parvati got married. And that is the longest lasting marriage that we know of as human beings. So get married on that day. And you will see, especially Uttara Falguni people, when they get married, huge wealth comes into play. Huge success comes into play. Okay. So hopefully I answered this. The next question is from Shivam Dev. Is Sun really debilitated if it's conjunct with Venus in Libra? No, it's not really debilitated. But again, the first thing that you want to ask yourself is what is debilitation and exaltation? If you're looking at it from the point of good and bad, then unless you're in the gray area, you're never going to find the answer to this riddle. Is the sun good or is the sun bad? Because if you're looking for money, if you're looking for success, if you're looking for fame, debilitated sun actually helps you more than exalted sun. Remember that. And just because Venus is with or not with sun does not signify the strength of sun. The strength of sun is particularly looked at through the Navamsha, through its directional strength, and through the exact degree that it's at in a particular sign. Like if you see, especially in a certain nakshatras, when sun is at the yoga tara of that nakshatra, and if that nakshatra signifies power, sun gives power. Now with Venus, yes, it is known as a neech bhang. There is a particular term, neech bhang Raj Yoga, and that's when Sun and Venus are in Kendra, meaning 1, 4, 7, 10 houses. And when it's in any other house besides that, then it's just known as neech bhang, meaning Sun is finding great support being with the Lord of its sign to give some benefic results. But because it's with the enemy, one thing you will notice, your father and your spouse will always fight with this particular conjunction. They'll always have differences of opinion. Then the next question is from Laura Scotter. Why some people, when they met at first time, don't fall in love, or they don't like each other at all, but over time they can't live without each other, or desperately in love to marry? Well, that just shows with the chart. And one thing you got to understand, it's never two people. It's only one person. Now, never two people will have equal amount of obsession or love towards the other. One will always have the more. One will always be more in love with the other person. Nobody wants to talk about it, but that's the reality. So if you're looking at that one person who keeps rejecting that person, and then that person feels like, oh my God, this person doesn't want me. Okay, fine, I don't want to deal with them right now. Okay, they want to hang out with me. Okay, let's hang out. Such people have very practical placements in the chart. They're not one of those hopeless romantics like you get with Venus and Mercury conjunction in the 5th, 7th, 1st, or 11th house. They're not one of those people who have very romantic, lustful, sexual nakshatras. They probably have very, practical, crude nakshatras behaving, like, for example, Bharani, Ardra, Mula, Purva, Bhadrapada, Revati. They may even have nakshatras like Anuradha. Actually, not even Anuradha. Actually, I've even seen Uttar Bhadrapada. Uttar Bhadrapada feel very insecure about themselves, and because of that insecurity, they're not really able to quickly commit to anything, because they feel like that the other person can make them feel more insecure. So it's really about the fact that one person would have that particular chart. It's never two people. It's never two people who are equally feeling the same way about each other. Very rarely you will get that. Most of the time, one person is always has a higher advantage towards, controlling the other person. Because remember, the one who is less in love in a relationship will control the relationship. Then the next question is from Archana Kanchan. How can we connect and be devoted to the divine source without expecting self-benefits? Do we have that ability? Well, first of all, who said that looking for self-benefits is bad? Looking for self-benefits is not bad. I look for self-benefits first. That's how honest I'm being. When I'm doing my practices, when I'm doing some ritual, something, I'm looking for self-benefits. I'm looking to find some sort of a God realization. I'm looking for more success in my personal life. There's nothing bad with that. If somebody said it's bad with that, they don't know the true sense of devotion. Because you got to understand one thing, okay? You cannot help others until you help yourself. So for example, and this isn't because you asked this question, this is not something me boosting about myself, but I give huge amounts of money to temples, to foundations, to certain non-profit organizations that I believe in. I give huge. Why do I do that? Because I look for that selfishness, that me giving this will give me some benefit. Me praying to God will give me some benefit. Now, how does that turns into a positive where you don't even have to worry about it? There shouldn't be even a second thought if you're looking out for yourself or the benefits of the other people. Is that when God gives you, okay, even if it's through selfish purposes and selfish reasons, I am still giving it to other people. I am still creating a balance in society. I am still somehow giving to the needy, even though it's for my own self-gratification. So whether it's for selfish reason or not, at the end of the day, God knows. Everybody else is going to be benefited through this person, even though they're looking for their own, self improvement and self-benefits. So never feel guilty. It's like when you meditate, you're getting all these thoughts, whether it's sexual thoughts, whether it's worrying thoughts, whether it's thoughts of being lost, thoughts of, self-inflicting wounds upon the mind. All the yogis have said, just let it come and pass. You just focus on that third eye. Let the thoughts come in. Same thing. When you're trying to do something, for society, and automatically your soul is saying, hey, look for yourself first. Fine, yeah, I'll look for myself, sure. Give it to me. Give me $1 billion. So out of that $1 billion, I'll take $400 million and give it to where I'm supposed to give it to, so I get more from you, God. So God already knows that by you getting that $1 billion, $400 million, $500 million will automatically go to benefits of society. So don't worry about all these things. Then the next question is Bhagwan Shri P. Vidya Maharajan. There are various combinations in a chart where we can see a person might have black magic on him or her through someone, but which are those combinations? Well, if you want to see one of the combinations for black magicians actually is when all the planets are occupying dual signs, or at least all the dual signs are being occupied by planets, which is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. So for example, let's say Sun, Mercury are in the sign of Gemini, Mars is in the sign of Virgo, Jupiter is in Sagittarius, Saturn is in Pisces. And if other planetary combinations connect with the 8th Lord, this person will have great interest in practicing black magic and all that. But when it comes to becoming a victim, you will see, have a strong connection with nakshatra of Purva Bhadrapada, Ardra, okay, nakshatra of Mula, nakshatra of Rohini. And at the same time, you want to see how is the signal of the mind. Because moon, let's say, conjunct Rahu in the 12th or 8th house. Moon conjunct Ketu in the 8th or 12th house makes moon susceptible to experiencing various things against one's own will. So for example, let's say I have this cell phone, okay? If let's say I have this cell phone which is 2G, very old technology, and it's an old software, and I'm trying to do, let's say, FaceTime or WhatsApp app, it's going to be very pixelated, very slow connection. It's not going to be so good. So this is weak. But then if let's say I have a 5G iPhone 22 phone and I'm doing my connection, boy, I'm going to get a whole lot of information. That's what happens with people's chart. Certain charts have such a high definition signal that they can attract not only the positive but also the negative, malevolent energy towards them. And especially when you're in certain region of a country or region of this world like India, Russia, China, Asia, South America, Africa, these places are known for black magic and voodoo and Sangrita, all of these things. And if you have that signal and you go into these regions, yes, somebody can just do something for fun, or somebody could be pissed at you and do things. Like, for example, also Jupiter. Jupiter represents our protection. Jupiter is Jiva, what keeps us alive, what keeps us at our fertile self. If Jupiter becomes weak in a chart, person is always susceptible to black magic. If let's say Jupiter is debilitated, sitting in the 8th house, 12th house, 6th house, a person will feel that struggle of protection. And if let's say they have these other nakshatras that I mentioned, then they'll always be prone to, black magic. Then the next question is, by Shyam Dev. What does it mean if someone has the highest Ashtakvarga score for the 8th house in the birth chart? Okay, well, the first thing we want to ask is, what are you comparing this 8th house to with the high points? Are you comparing it to the 1st house, 2nd house, 9th house? Okay. Now, there's a saying that if 6th house has high points and your 1st house has low points, you will always be susceptible to health issues, illnesses, diseases, accidents. So they say it's better to have more points in the ascendant versus the 6th house. 8th house is kind of like an anomaly. 8th house it's not a bad house, 8th house. 8th house represents transformation for the good, transformation for the better. The 8th house is death, and people don't realize. And this is why I've stopped preaching too many things now. Because how many people can you give the message to? Death is the most beautiful thing that can happen to you as a human being. You should feel blessed that one day you are going to die. But because we have not seen behind the curtains, most of us, we're afraid. What is behind that curtain? And you get, kind of mind controlled by all these freaks of this world telling you about there's a hell, there's this, you're going to get burned, you do this, you do that. And you're creating these fantasies in your head. Like, for example, there are a lot of people, these young teenagers who are so-called people of science, are so badly criticizing Ayurveda and all these different remedies for dealing with our worldly health issue right now. And I read that and I'm like, yeah, I was like that. I was like these people. What are you going to do? Let your science help you. But coming back to this point of Ashtakvarga, when you have such high points in the 8th house, shows obviously that one is capable of getting inheritance and great amount of money through inheritance, insurance, great amount of money through taxes, like always getting the huge amounts of return at the end of the year. The other thing we see is that you will get great benefits through your spouse's family. So in a way, it's an anomaly. It's actually a pretty good house, having the high points. It shows that any near-death experiences will turn into a positive thing. For example, you get into an accident. Suddenly you realize that other person's insurance company is giving you $2 million. Or you get injured in the head. And next thing you know, suddenly you are able to do mathematics and you're able to just see the world like nobody else can see. That has actually happened with this construction worker who's now a brilliant mathematician from just some head injury. So you don't know, what good will come out from your misfortunes. The last question is from Alisa M. Please, how to know if it's a good moment to buy a house? Well, that's simple. Look at your chart. Look at the dashas and you'll know when it's a good time to buy a house. But what you want to pay attention to is looking at your, especially Vimshotri dasha and Chara dasha of Vedic Astrology. And you want to see if the 4th house, 4th lord is becoming active along with moon and Mars, or the Padha of the 4th lord. Meaning, like if 4th lord is in the 7th house, then the Padha of the 4th house will be the 10th house. Because you count that many places from where the lord has moved. And then you have to look at your D4 chart, Chatur Tatamsa chart, which is a chart related to land and dwelling and foreign travel. So in there, when the ascendant becomes active, 4th lord becomes active, planets in the 4th house becomes active, moon and Mars, which are Karka of land and real estate, becomes active. And especially when Jupiter and Saturn in the birth chart, along with Mars, point to either the 4th house, 4th lord, Mars or moon themselves, property can come into your in your hands. Now, the other thing you also want to look for is, do you have the yoga to even have a property or land in your life. Perhaps no matter how much you try, you're always going to rent the house more than attaining that house. So that's the first thing you want to look for. But just when it comes to just knowing when to buy the house, these are the timings that have to come into play. So in Jaimini Charadasha, look at the signs that are becoming active, which are related to either your Matrikarka, planet with the 4th highest degree, again Moon, Mars, or the house that has the Padha of the 4th lord, whether from the birth lagna, Karakamsha lagna, or the Charadasha lagna. And I know it may sound like an alien language to you, but it was an alien language for me at one point, and now it's just everyday occurrence. Okay, so guys, this was my answers for your KRSsatsang video of the week. And just remember, my Plans to the Nakshatra course is currently happening, and there I'm actually going to reveal something very secret about me in the Magha Nakshatra, which I actually said in one of my satsang videos that I'm going to do it when my book comes out. But just in the Magha, I will talk about it. And it's up to you. You want to believe it, you believe it. You don't want to believe it, you shouldn't believe it just to anybody right now. Too many people give too many hallucinations out in the world now. Too many, nitrogen gases out there. So, but just, it's my truth, and I just want to share it because it's strongly connected with the nakshatra. So anyway, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.